Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. There we go. There we go. Hello. All right. Thank you for joining me. Let's try to get our Facebook friends. Likewise, at the moment, everything seems to be running. Okay. We don't quite have Facebook up and running yet, but that's all right. I'm going to go ahead and say this is Daily Art Adventure number 896. Sneaking up on that important 900, which we're sneaking up on 1,000. Ready to go. Finishing touches on beautiful Sheba. I got to tell you, I was thinking about calling it finishing touches on a real bitch. But then I thought my mom might be watching. This dog had several litters of puppies, okay, I've been told. We were not allowed to use language like that at all. Of course, we didn't grow up, on a farm, so it made a lot of sense for us not to use. There are a lot of words they use on the farm that the rest of us are not allowed to use. I don't know about you, but we were not allowed to use a lot of words that my farmer friends could use. All right, thank you for welcoming me back. Let's get a monitor going here in just a second for Facebook friends. Thank you, Aslan. Thank you for watching again. And Ursula, thank you for watching again. Oh my goodness, and David and Benji, oh my goodness. My new grandson, Benji, age, 5 weeks? Forgive me, David, I should know that off the top of my head. But anyway, my son, David. Oh, that's right, February 11th. How could I forget? 2 months, what am I thinking? Over 2 months, my goodness. Time flies, David. When I was a kid, a year used to last 12 months. Hello, Chris Tamulovich. Things are very well here, thank you very much. All right, I started this yesterday, layers, 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 layers. Worked on it this morning for a little while, and I'm essentially down to finishing touches. So here's my #1 photograph. Let's see if I can get this, tape this up here so it's not in my way too much. I don't know if that's going to work. Maybe. It'd be nice. And then GIF, my contact point person, sent me a whole treasure trove of additional images of beautiful Sheba. Thank you, GIF. And as you can see, I printed off several different samplings. And I'm going to take that up right here. There we go. All right. So I'm essentially down to, as I said, they're finishing touches, which now I should, let's be honest right up front, that I've discovered, again, I'm kind of like a preacher who says, in just one more point, in conclusion, I don't know how many of you grew up with that kind of, I'm sure it's not only preachers that use that, but, in conclusion, and then 20 minutes later, they're still talking. I find that I do, I end up doing that kind of thing, not infrequently. I say this is the finishing touches. Oh, until tomorrow's finishing touches. Do you understand? But be that as it may indeed be. Let's go. So I've just mixed up, let's get going. So I've mixed up a mid-tone brown. I don't want to start with the lightest highlights of brown because I want to leave room where I can put a lighter brown and maybe even twice on top of this. Maybe you've heard me say, and I understand that especially on Facebook I have a bunch of new watchers, new followers who haven't been following me like my YouTube friends have been for, some of them for years and years. Well, 3 years anyway. We like to see, that is, we human beings, we like to see light paint on top of dark paint. We don't like seeing dark on top of light, but we do like seeing, that's a whole nother subject. But I'll just leave it for now to say the proper way, if you will, I'm using, that's a little bit too restrictive, but you know what I mean. The best way, in my opinion, to put light colors on your painting is to step forward toward lightness incrementally. Don't rush all the way to full lightness, if you will. Better to do what I'm doing right now, sort of a mid-tone, brown, tan. And then I'll come back in a few minutes and do slightly lighter on top of this. And in some areas, I'll come back and hit it even a third time. One of the ways to describe good representational painting, in my opinion, my humble opinion, everybody knows my humility is, I'm famous for my humility. known far and wide for my humility. One of the ways to describe good representational painting is the artist is always, you good?
Other than the corner post.
Yeah, since we don't have it, I'd say proceed with as usual. Yeah. Nah, don't paint it for a while. Yeah. And if we decide later to replace that corner post, we will. That's a thought. How about don't fasten this step to that corner post.
Well, it's not anyway. The
Right.
corner post
Correct.
is bolted onto the,
Correct.
remember I had to cut
Yep.
out for that
Correct.
support
Gotcha.
we put on there?
Okay, good. Then we can replace it later without too much trouble. Thanks. One of the ways I think to describe good painting is representational painting, and is that the artist is always looking for ways, old and new ways and old ways, to accomplish, I want to say to execute an illusion. Like in this case, I'm trying to create or execute the illusion of fur, right? And generally speaking, I rag on hyper-realism enough, and I've already done so enough on this painting, so I don't need to do it again. But generally speaking, that does not mean getting out a one-haired brush, sticking out your tongue, and painting each hair individually. That's not the magic of abstraction. So an artist like myself, and I'm always, with everything I'm painting, every new thing I'm painting, I look at it, so to speak. I don't mean like a new subject. I mean, I do cityscapes more than anything else, right? But every time I'm doing a cityscape, I look at either I'm out there on plein air on the sidewalk, or I'm working in my studio from a photograph. In either case, I look at this one section of this building, whatever building it is, and scratch my chin, so to speak, say, what would be a good technique, a good trick even, that's a good word. What would be a good brush trick even? What would be a good trick for me to effectively capture the essence of that thing? Like in this case, I was talking about the side of a building, or in this case, I'm talking about Sheba's fur here. As you saw by the title, this beautiful dog's name is Sheba. And I'm sorry to report that Sheba passed away just a few months ago. That's part of the reason why I got this job. Makes sense, right? I mentioned yesterday we had one dog for many, many years when our kids were growing up. And indeed, we have a portrait of that dog who's sitting on our coffee table, somewhere, some table, whatever you call the table that sits beside a chair. Anyway, so I'm looking for a trick, a way to, and as you can see right now, I'm basically applying a medium tan, orange-ish tan, with the side, if you will, with what I call the blade of these brushes, as opposed to the point like this, which is legal too. I could certainly do that if I decide that's the way to go. But I'm encouraging, if you will, the little hairs on the brush, little bristles on the brush, to kind of skitter across the canvas. You probably can't see the details there, but I'm encouraging that I want the brush to kind of skitter across the canvas in such a way that it looks kind of like fur. Does that make sense? That, and one of the terms I have for that is the illusion, or the magic, not the illusion, I'm sorry, the magic of abstraction. It's, again, what I call this mindset is try to come up with some abstract movement, mark, combination of paint and bristle and canvas and movement with my hand that creates the illusion of fur. All right, so that's what's always going on to some degree inside my mind. And here's a trick I employ often, as I use the butt end of a brush to scratch. Always looking for the next good trick. And this is, and when I say this is what good painters do, I'm quite serious about that. When I look at, for instance, one of my all-time favorites, of course, John Singer Sargent, and look at, for instance, his, say, fabric, I marvel, if not drool, over the way he manages. And Anders Zorn is a contemporary of his. Some say perhaps even better than John Singer Sargent. He was Swedish, I think. Anyway, Nordic of some kind. Not right now. How about, can we just talk, or do I need to go carry something?
No, I won't get an exact location of that light.
Oh, just the middle of the wall. I don't care. I won't complain, I promise.
Well, I'm thinking of putting it about 8 feet. That way we don't have to cut out that pegboard for it.
Oh,
But I don't know if you'll like that. I mean, that's what I want you to look at.
that might work. That might work. I follow you. Then we won't be hitting it with our head, and there's going to be a light down low. Now, you do what you think is best, Doug. I won't complain. I trust your judgment, honestly.
Well, I'm thinking about trying to protect it too.
That's correct. That's correct. I'm with you. No, you use your best judgment. I won't complain. My friend Mr. Doug here, who's working in a couple things. He's a real electrician, starting by installing some lights in the attic and then some new shelving. I was just saying to my family over lunch, man, I sure hope whoever buys this house, I sure hope they appreciate all this storage we have put in this place. Our storage has storage. We have so much storage in our house. We have 2 sheds in our backyard. I mean, come on. What house do you know that has 2 sheds in the backyard? And they're both full. Now, a lot of that is because I'm an artist. I have a lot of stuff. Whew. Anyway. So, I was going to say, so when I look at the work of John Singer Sargent. I absolutely marvel, gawk, drool, to be overly crude, at how with a few strokes. Oh, here's another. Okay, here's another element in that. I said that the good painting is the magic of abstraction. Another good term, and this is not a Dan Nelsonism. This is a plain old ordinary art professor, all art professor, achieving that illusion with economy, with the economy of stroke. That is the opposite of overworking something. In fact, even as I say that, I go, I might be overworking this fur right now. I might be. I'm in danger of it, I'll say that. So its economy of stroke is huge. You want the viewer, in a sense, to be able to see how you did it. That's in the world of quote-unquote real painting. That's the primary value, is that the viewer can still see your movements, your marks, your brush strokes. Oh, this is getting pretty now. I'm coming back now with a lighter color, as I said I would, a lighter color of tan. And I haven't painted the brown orange of her eyes yet. That will really make that pop. But just the top part of her head is looking quite lovely. I've got a little bit of just almost a pink color inside her ears. But other than that, I think the top of her head is essentially finished. Let me see who's saying hi over here. Ah, Ursula, you were doing a purtle. Listen to me. Ursula doing a purtle. Ursula doing a poodle, were you? Well, there will be another one, no doubt. Okay, adding yet a third light brown, light tan to my brushes. So again, the trick I'm employing right now is using the flat of the brush, not even the, you see the shape of this brush, I call this the flat, that's the blade and that's the point. My language, I'm not sure that's universal, but I think it's pretty intuitive, understandable. Again, I want the brush to skitter across the surface of the canvas, depositing just the right amount of paint to give the impression of fur. Okay, this might be the last light there. Maybe it's conceivable I would come back one more time and do even one more lighter, but I'm not going to assume that at this point. I'm going to assume this is as light as it needs to go. Whenever you have something, I usually use the word motif, an object or a shape that shows up repeatedly in a painting, you want to employ a variety of tricks to indicate that, the repeated pattern. So here I'm using a palette knife. So the repeated image here is these individual hairs coming out from Sheba's bib. Different kind of fur here, right? Than there. Catches the light differently. So that repeated individual hairs. I'm not going to paint everyone, but it's okay to use a palette knife to indicate some of them. Hang on just a second. Here we go. A short, stiff brush. Got too much energy right here. Too much texture right there. And almost too much right here. So I'm just using a dry brush to smudge a little bit. Yeah, same thing here. Yeah. Hey, now that I've used this brush a little bit, I want to use it a little bit more. Nice little outline of the ear here, highlighted by the sun. Oh, pretty, pretty. I don't believe I've ever painted. I've never done an oil painting of a German Shepherd before. I haven't done a ton of dog portraits. I was counting yesterday, either 4 or 5. Well, I remember doing one 20 years ago. There was 2 dogs. I guess that counts as 2, doesn't it? 2 Italian hounds. Miniature version of greyhounds. Beautiful. Beautiful, jumpy little dogs. I tend to favor big dogs, not little yappy dogs. I like dogs that go roof, roof, roof instead of yap, yap, yap. But to each his own, huh? You can have whatever kind of dog you want, as long as I don't have to feed it, and pay its vet bills and shots, and take it for a walk every day. I'm just fine with you having a dog. There's a starting to look like Sheba. I think it is. I don't think GIF is on at the moment, but he was yesterday. Must be tied up here on Saturday. I haven't done her. I have details to do in her, on her nose, and in her mouth, in her teeth, and also her eyes. But let's stop right there. Let's do. Let's go up and catch the eyes. One thing I think is quite clear, this realistic painting is not, it ain't exactly rock and roll. It's rather slow. Tedious comes to mind. Methodical, slow, tedious. So if you feel like you're getting bored, you're entirely correct. You're entirely normal. All right. Now, I do have some nice large pictures of Sheba's eyes up here. Yeah, that helps. Yes, thank you very much. I'm doing a deep orange at the moment. And I'll come back and do a slightly lighter orange, yellow orange on top of this. And maybe do the highlights again. We'll see. We'll see. There's already some highlight there. Are we getting static, you guys? Let me turn this up. Ooh, we are. I'm sorry. Forgive me. There we go. Sorry about that. Sorry. Hello, first name, last name. Looks exactly like your dog, does it really? Isn't that something? Okay, now straight from that into a slightly lighter yellower orange. Again, the human eye gets a kick, gets a pleasure out of seeing a light color on top of dark color. So that's why you put down a medium dark orange brown first, and then follow up with a slightly lighter orange brown on top of that. Not on top of the whole thing. I'm assuming you understand that. Doesn't mean you put down one color and then cover it up completely with another. No. The upper layer doesn't cover as much, so that you see bits of the underneath poking through. Okay, I'm hoping that you already understood that. There. Oh, isn't that pretty? Now, let's think about some highlights. The highlights in the main photo there that I'm using as reference, the main one, the highlights are actually quite blue because Sheba is outdoors and we're getting blue from the sky. So I think that's a good idea. I'm going to try a pale blue and see if I like it. Now, contrary to what maybe some early journey painters might think, doing the reflection, good reflection, is not simply a matter of putting a doink of white paint on the eyeball. It's real easy to overdo it, to overdoink it. And you do have to watch out for that. It'll take on a kind of a slightly illustrative, cartoony, hard-edged look if you make it too bright, too hard-edged, and so forth. So you want to just catch a balance of hardness. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to leave that for now. Okay, done with those crazy tiny brushes, at least for the moment. Yeah, let's do some of Sheba's her nose, shall we? And I'm going to move this photograph down a little bit more into my field of vision. And go back to some normal sized brushes. You guys are being very unchatty this afternoon. That's fine. You probably tell that I'm not going to talk to you anyway, can't you? You're saying, I think he's busy. I'm sitting down, by the way. I normally paint standing up. Whoops. The most common exception to that rule, if you will, standing up rule, is just like I'm doing right now. When I get down to really to finishing stages, details, small stuff, I will often sit down. It's a nice break to get off my feet. But usually after a while of sitting down, usually what happens is that I'm ready to jump back up. It's too confining. I'm okay for the moment. So I'm going to stay here right now, but I would be surprised if in a little while. Okay, I'm mixing up a warm gray Had to look and say, is this warm or cool gray? Oh no, it's definitely a warm gray. Too much of a good thing. Let's see if I can paint with a rag a little bit. Not getting mad at it, not scrubbing angrily. As I say, don't let the spirit of eraser come on you. The spirit of eraser is you're mad at yourself. Disgusting. You stop painting. You start desecrating, ruining, messing. You don't want to do that. All right, a little bit of detail. Whoops. A little bit of detail on the nose. That brush is way too wet. Let's try just drying it off and see if that works. Again, I'm always looking for the magic of abstraction. What is it that I want to do to capture the reflection on the edge of Sheba's nostril right here? What color? How much paint on the brush? How does the brush touch, interact with the canvas? All those things, all those are variables. Right now it's left-handed. And one of the things I'm clearly going to do is, again, in this, the constant adventure to figure out a trick for abstracting, for capturing, in this case, the essence of Sheba's nose. One of the things I'm going to do is paint the reflection first, and with a small brush, come and paint the black inside her nostril with fairly hard edge.
You still alive?
Uh-huh. With this dark up here closer to the edge of her nose. There we go. That looks quite a bit like a nose. And her nose in particular, not just any. Definitely want to try to capture hers. All right, now let's go on to the fur underneath her nose, the fur, if you will, of her top lip, which I'm sure is not the right terminology. Once again, I'm going to do the same trick I did just a minute ago. I'm going to paint the reflection, the edge first, and then follow up with a black brush with black paint and carve up into that A little bit of reflection there. All right, now, finally, let's tackle these teeth. There, what you see there, I think, goes all the way back to, the acrylic layers. I don't think I've done anything. If I remember right, I don't think I've done anything in the oil stage toward rendering those, capturing those teeth. So right now I'm mixing up a fairly dark, that is to say probably number 5 or 6 value, yeah, number 6, brown, muddy brown, neutral brown. I'm gonna paint her teeth, not her eyes. Gonna paint her teeth first. The dark side of her teeth. A little trivia question. How many teeth does a dog have between its lower canines? Just in case you ever want to know. The answer is 6. They're not called, the lower ones are not called canines, I don't think, but whatever they are. Isn't it funny that we call our teeth canines, human teeth, which of course means dog? You know what? Here's a correction, a drawing correction. Should have caught this earlier, but I didn't. Her mouth is open a little too wide. Move. I don't like having to make adjustments this late in the game, but better late than never comes to mind. What's up? What's up?
I don't know if we miscalculated on the wire or what. But with what wire we have, we barely put the light underneath that thing. And it needs to be further back than that.
Yeah.
And we couldn't, you found no 14 Romex at all when you were working yesterday, right?
Right.
We really could use about another 15 feet.
Oh no.
Well, we don't really need that much, but
How about bring it?
that's the next smallest wire.
Then bring it down from 8 feet down to 7. That'll get us 2 feet. We can go 2 feet back further. I don't know how we could have been that far off.
And just have to cut it, I guess.
Yeah.
Man, it is hot as the dickens and dusty as the dickens in that.
Is it? Oh no. Sorry.
Did your air conditioner break in the room?
No.
I know
It's not turned on probably.
it's not even in the window, is it?
Oh no. Are you talking about a window air conditioner? I'm sorry. We haven't installed that yet.
Or do you take it out in the winter time?
Yeah. Well, we got all new windows last winter.
Oh.
All right. Now I need to,
See what I mean? No, that's what you did over there.
yeah, make an urgent correction here. Do not want Sheba to have 2 rows of teeth.
But doesn't she a top and a bottom? You really like to look at it, you can't take a break.
No, not easily. I did bring it down 2 feet into the pegboard. I mean 1 foot, and that'll buy us 2 more feet of cable.
I'm still telling you, it's not gonna stick it very far back there, but
2 more feet, yeah.
excuse me.
Okay, there's a slight reddish purple color.
And it's only putting it in the 3rd opening from the door. The upper one.
Yeah,
Just inside that opening.
okay.
You can't take 2 minutes.
Stretch it as much as you can. I don't know how we could have been that far off. You got 25 feet, right?
Yeah. Well, we knew it was gonna be fairly close, because remember the next roll was 50 foot, and you didn't wanna go that much.
Right. A little bit of blue highlight reflection down here. And over here as well.
Thought I had some in the car, but I don't. What do I do with it?
All right, I think that's her mouth. Okay, 2 things I want to do before I go all the way down here. A slight pinkish in her ear. Don't want to go into, it's not very pink. Okay, and then a little bit more blue highlight in her fur, in her black fur up here. I'll come up when I can, if I can.
Well, if I start nailing the box in and cutting the wire, it's gonna be kind of.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yep, I do.
And that's the next stage.
Right. I'm not telling you to wait for me. Thanks. Blue down here. Love the blue highlights in her black fur. Part of what makes her a German Shepherd, don't you think? Is that particular color of black fur that catches the blue so perfectly. At least that makes me think German Shepherd. Looks like a German Shepherd to me. Matches my impression of what a German Shepherd should look like. Huh. The blue highlights in the black fur. There's probably other dogs as well, but I'm doing an awful lot of right-handed painting here, which, yeah, after a while begins to drive me crazy. I'm allergic to one-handed painting. And more blue on top of her muzzle. As an artist, generally speaking, I think, one would rather overdo color than underdo it, generally speaking. And if I'm overdoing it, it's barely, so barely that I don't think I am anyway. All right, I'll tell you what, gang. I think I'm going to, I'm afraid I'm always concerned about boring you to tears. Not that it works that way, I understand. you leave me long before you get bored to tears. Well, hello, Elmer Yazzie. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you're still watching, my friend. What an honor. Elmer and I were at Calvin College Art Department together. He graduated a year ahead of me in 1976, and we ran cross country together. Elmer, my dear friend, remember you fondly and often. Enjoy following your adventures. Rehoboth. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, forgive me. Rehoboth? Rehoboth, New Mexico. What fun. Good to see your name. I hope you're still on. If you're not, somebody tell Elmer I said hi. just realized more highlight on the top of this nose, and it's kind of speckly, you know, the way a dog's nose has that very distinctive leathery texture. I'd like to try to indicate that if I can by just dabbing the brush. Okay, I'm finally painting the stick just a little bit, not much. It's almost done. I hardly need to do anything to it. Over here, it's a little misshapen, so we'll fix that. And in the photograph, the stick has a very strong and distinct texture. I don't think I want to, artistic decision here, I don't think I want to indicate that in the painting. It's kind of too much of a good thing. It's too distracting. So I'm just going to let it just be a kind of a rough representation of a stick. And then finally, the butterfly. Hey, Uncle. I am getting good at this painting hobby. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Working on it. I wonder if Mevo Plus camera has an adjustment or SHAW feature on the autofocus. Oh, gotcha. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, it does. I don't think it does have a turn off autofocus. Sky reflection. You are correct. Tell you what. Okay, so thank you for telling me that, because I'll just move you guys so my hair doesn't get in your way so much. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, a lot of blue in this dog, and it's definitely a reflection off the sky, for sure. All right, let's do the butterfly. So here's the practice. It's a yellow butterfly, right? So mid-tone yellow-orange, kind of a dirty yellow-orange, and not transparent, but translucent. So you can see through it somewhat, but it's not transparent. All right, over the whole butterfly. Making a few anatomical adjustments as necessary. All right, that's done. And then dark details. I'll start by doing almost black. I'll make it a chroma black, not black paint. So chroma black, my favorite is dark black, B-L-E-C-K, I often call it, which is oxide red and ultramarine blue. Let's do a little more brown. All right, so a lot of detail on this butterfly. I haven't even begun to work on yet. So finally, for the first time, I'm looking at it with considerable care. Now, I don't mind sort of executing this butterfly, dispatching the butterfly in a rather perfunctory manner, because the painting is, it's fine with me if the butterfly looks as though it was painted I want it to be accurate, certainly accurate enough, but I don't want it to, really don't want it to compete with the dog. I mean, it's an important part of the story, and it'll tell the story just by being there, but I don't need it, in my opinion, it doesn't need to compete with Sheba's face. In other words, I want the viewer's eye to come over here and say, oh yeah, yeah, cute butterfly, butterfly, oh yeah, and then come back to the face. And so, you know, 20% here, 80% here, at least just between those two elements, 20-80. All right, I'm going to call that good enough. And let's go to a couple smaller brushes for the bright yellow. Okay, so again, the common practice here, strategy, common technique here for rendering, realistically capturing any shaded object is mid-tone over the whole area. So I did the mid-tone yellow, translucent over the whole thing, and then dark details, and finally light details. I'm going to do the light details in at least 2 layers. That is medium light and then very light. So I have now, when I need a palette knife, I have a medium warm yellow on my brushes right now. So there's room for me to come back and do much lighter yellow on top of this mid-tone yellow. You know, doing this, one thought, a teaching moment comes to mind. One of the things that I think early young painters, I don't mean young in age, but early journey painters struggle with, and I don't talk about it that often, it deserves to be talked about more often than I do. Brushmanship, I talk about that quite a bit, but in one specific regard, the brushmanship of which I speak is the ability or the inclination even to put paint down with the brush. Don't brush it around. In that regard, I think the fact that we call these things brushes linguistically, psychologically gets in our way, because I think early journey painters, because it's called a brush, I think there's some psychological bleed over there, and people think, oh, I know what you do with a brush. You brush with it. And that's quite a misguided notion. You don't brush with it normally. Normally you just deliver the paint. You put it down and leave it. No brushes, I like to say, no brushy, brushy, brushy. You just put it and leave it. One of the features of immature painting, if you forgive me for being overly blunt, is diffuse, can I use that word, diffuse brush marks. Paint that is not thick enough, paint that's not sticking up off the canvas adequately. I mean, what I'm doing here is really by no means what would be called or characterized as impasto at all. But even just on almost on a microscopic level, the paint needs to be a glop of it on, and that is often missing from young painters' works, and it's because after they put it down, they brush it around. And it just dawned on me, even as I'm doing this butterfly, that every single stroke of yellow that I'm putting down, whoops, and some of that mess was just because my hand wiggled and jiggled. We've talked about that quite a bit as well. Don't get mad at your hands because they wiggle and jiggle. They wiggle because you're alive. And usually it makes a pleasant mark. Now that right there is not a very pleasant mark. But I'm going to, I don't know if this will work or not. Yeah, so. This is a rubber paint mover. What's it called? Oh, clay shaper. made for clay, no less. But I'm using it right now just to move paint around. It didn't work very well. I wonder what would happen if I dip it in black paint. Let's try this. Nope, that didn't work either. I'm going to do it again anyway, though. In spite of the fact that it didn't work very well, I'm going to try it again. Nope. I'm going to try it with the yellow paint. Why have I gotten into painting with a rubber? It didn't work any of those times, so forget that. That's what you call experimenting. And the experiment was a success because it showed me that that technique did not succeed at all. Now I'm going to a very pale, almost white yellow here for my last touches on the butterfly. And I'm going to do at least one antenna. In reality, in the photograph, the butterfly's antenna is coming back toward the viewers, and it's on top of his wings. But I'm going to move them here. Little knife. Well, that didn't work at all. Well, darn. I was trying to remove some of the black antenna mark that I had accidentally left there, and that didn't work at all. So now I have to do the old-fashioned mix up a green that's fairly close to the green that's there, and just try to just cover it up. Okay, good enough. Now, when you have to cover up something like that, one of the secret is take whatever color, because the color that's on your brush is never going to match exactly, using the word exact there. And so the solution is you take some of your correction color and spread it around, right? So you don't have a little bit of the painting that shows up as a mistake correction. Now I'm going to negative paint just a little bit of the bottom edge of this butterfly. So I've mixed up, again, a dark green. Now what I'm doing right here fits in with a good principle of painting. Remember, whenever possible, look for an excuse to negative paint an object. Well, in this case, the butterfly actually needed some correction, so it works out just fine. So I'm painting the butterfly by not painting the butterfly. Does that make sense to you? I hope. But by painting around it, by painting the dark green behind it. And we do a little bit of the same thing up on the top of it. Again, really doing the most accurate painting of the butterfly is right now, and I'm accomplishing it, in fact, not by painting the butterfly, but by painting the green grass behind it. Does that make sense? That's one thing. One name for that is negative painting. Don't paint the thing, paint the thing behind it or around it. And it's an effective trick because our eye subconsciously picks up on the notion that the grass color, if you will, was painted after the butterfly. And the tiny little flicker of confusion is experienced as aesthetic pleasure. Our brain goes, oh, look at that. And again, I've talked about this a bunch this morning. That doesn't mean we expect the non-artist to consciously process that. No. This is not dependent, almost nothing that we do as artists. It should be dependent on the viewer, especially if the viewer is not an artist. And if we're painting for artists, we're really barking up the wrong tree, to mix metaphors here. We should not be painting for artists, usually. I mean, that's kind of, I don't know what the word is. I want to say sick, but it's not a good business model, that's for sure. All right. I'm going to try a scratch. Nope, that didn't work. It just came out white, so there you go. I'm still trying to get a little bit of the antenna. Doggone it. Having a hard time here. So I'm going to paint up to the antenna again. All right, and I think I'm going to call that good enough. Just to barely, yeah, that's good. Just the faintest hint or whisper of an antenna there. All right, I will wrap up this broadcast. There's still a little bit more for me to paint, but I'm going to wrap up by doing more of what I was just talking about, which is negative painting. Okay, so now I'm over here on my palette. Sorry, if I had 2 cameras, I could show you. That is to say 4 cameras. But anyway, I'm trying to mix up a green that's pretty close to over here, and I'm going to paint some, at least, not all of it, not all the way around, but just a little bit of Sheba's silhouette edge here. By painting green. Again, negative painting, reverse painting, I don't know which way you want to call it. That means not painting the object, dog, by not painting the dog, but by painting what is not dog, that is, in this case, grass. Does that make sense? So again, shaping her up a little bit, and I get sort of aesthetic points, so to speak. I want to do some of the same right over here. So I need a dark green again. Let's see how close I am. No, a little darker. No sooner do I say a little darker. By the way, these brushes that I'm using at the moment are way too small. This is not what I recommend at all. But it's what was in my hand. So sometimes it's just easier to keep using the one that's in your hand rather than switch, but that got just too irritating. So I have just switched. And again, mixing up a dark bluish green. And do something very unusual. I'm gonna remove some paint over here because it's just getting too soupy. Now, even then, though, I'm not angry, and I don't let the spirit of eraser come on me. All right, let's go back here. There. She's okay on this side. All right, I've almost spent too much time. I've really almost overdone this painting too much time, but that's right. I have to finish the dog tags, a little bit of a collar here, and a little bit down here, not very much. And then I'm going to call it finished. There's always a possibility, of course, that I'll look at the painting tomorrow and say, egads, what was I thinking? All my fellow artists know that feeling anyway, when you look at it the next day. And I'm already seeing egads right now about the roof of this barn. Egads, what was I thinking? That's better. But other than that, I'm far enough along that I can sign it, call it finished, and then do finishing touches tomorrow. But I am going to do without your company, if that's all right. It's rather boring due to the dog tags and a little bit of the fur. Not too much, not too much. It's going to sort of fade out, if you will. The detail fade out as we go down there. Am I happy with the butterfly? I think so. Yeah. All right. Let me see if there's any comments I absolutely need to talk about. Hello, Kathleen. And hello, Ezekiel Bernardo from Brazil. How nice to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. All right, I am going to bid you all a fond adieu. I'm going to do a tiny bit of highlight on the red on the barn. I just realized that too. But I can do that without you. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.